The moment Ellen's smile disappeared, forever changed everyone in that studio. What started as a birthday celebration became something no one could have prepared for. And when the truth came out, Ellen made a choice that broke every rule of television. It was Thursday afternoon at Warner Bros. Studios in Burbank, and the Ellen DeGeneres show was in full swing. The familiar blue and white set sparkled under the studio lights as Ellen bounced across the stage in her signature style, a crisp white blazer and comfortable sneakers that seemed to give her an extra spring in her step. The audience of 300 was electric, their energy feeding off Ellen's infectious enthusiasm. All right, settle down," Ellen grinned, holding up her hands as the applause died down. "We have something special today. It's audience appreciation time, and I love doing this because you guys are the best audience in television." The cameras panned across faces in the crowd, capturing the anticipation that always built during these segments. Someone was about to have their day made, their life changed, their dreams fulfilled. It was the magic Ellen had perfected over 16 years of daytime television. "Now," Ellen continued, walking to the edge of the stage, "my producers have been telling me about someone very special in our audience today. Linda Morrison from Phoenix, Arizona. Are you here?" A spotlight found Linda immediately, seat 14B in the 5th row. She was a woman in her early 50s with shoulder-length brown hair and kind eyes that seemed to hold both strength and vulnerability. She wore a simple blue dress that she'd clearly chosen specially for the show, and when the light hit her, she brought both hands to her mouth in genuine shock. "Oh my goodness," Linda laughed, her voice carrying the slight tremor that came with being suddenly thrust into the spotlight. "Is this real?" "It's real, honey," Ellen beamed. "Now I understand today is a very special day for you. Can you tell everyone what today is?" Linda stood up slowly, still seeming to process that this was actually happening. "It's my 52nd birthday," she said, her voice growing stronger as the audience erupted in cheers and birthday wishes. 52, look at you," Ellen clapped enthusiastically. "You look amazing, and I hear you've had quite a year, haven't you?" "I have," Linda nodded, settling back into her seat but still glowing under the attention. "It's been a year of changes, for sure." Ellen's producers had briefed her on Linda's story. Recently divorced after 25 years of marriage, she'd moved across the country to start fresh in Arizona. She was rebuilding her life piece by piece, taking classes at the local community college, making new friends, discovering who she was outside of the role of wife and mother that had defined her for decades. "Well, Linda Morrison," Ellen announced, pulling out a blue card with theatrical flair, "because it's your birthday, and because you're starting this amazing new chapter in your life, I have some presents for you." The audience cheered as Ellen began reading from the card. "First, because you mentioned you're taking cooking classes, we're sending you on a culinary tour of Italy. 2 weeks, all expenses paid, cooking with master chefs in Tuscany." Linda's hands flew to her face again. The cameras caught the tears starting to well up in her eyes, the kind of happy tears that made for perfect television moments. "But wait, there's more," Ellen continued, clearly enjoying Linda's reaction. "You also mentioned you've always wanted to learn photography, so you're getting a complete photography package. Professional camera, editing software, and lessons with one of LA's top photographers." By now, Linda was openly crying, overwhelmed by the generosity. The audience was on their feet, sharing in her joy, and Ellen was beaming with the satisfaction that came from changing someone's life. "And finally," Ellen said, building to the crescendo, "because everyone deserves to feel celebrated on their birthday, especially when they're being as brave as you're being, we've arranged for your family to be here today to surprise you." That's when it happened, the moment everything changed. Instead of the expected explosion of joy, instead of the happy tears and grateful hugs that usually followed these surprises, Linda's face crumpled, not with happiness, with something else entirely. Something that made Ellen's smile falter for just a fraction of a second. "Oh, Ellen," Linda whispered, and her voice carried a weight that cut through the celebratory atmosphere like a knife. "You don't understand." The studio didn't go quiet immediately. The audience was still buzzing with excitement, expecting family members to appear at any moment. But Ellen, with her years of experience reading people, caught something in Linda's tone that made her pause. "What don't I understand, honey?" Ellen asked, her voice gentler now, stepping closer to Linda's section. Linda looked around the studio, at all the faces watching her, at the cameras broadcasting to millions, at Ellen standing there in her white blazer with such genuine care in her eyes. And then she made a decision that would change everything. "My family doesn't know I'm here," Linda said, her voice barely above a whisper but perfectly clear in the sudden quiet. They don't know I'm here because they don't know about today. Ellen's eyebrows drew together slightly. They don't know about your birthday? They don't know about my birthday, Linda repeated, and then she took a breath that seemed to come from the deepest part of her soul. They don't know about my birthday because they don't know I'm still alive. The words hung in the air like a physical presence. The audience didn't know how to react. Some people were still smiling, thinking this might be part of an elaborate setup. Others were beginning to sense that something was very wrong. Ellen set down her cards. Not dramatically, not for effect, but with the careful deliberation of someone who recognized that the script had just been thrown out the window. Linda, Ellen said softly, what do you mean? 6 months ago, Linda began, her voice growing stronger even as tears streamed down her face. 6 months ago, the doctors found something, stage 4 ovarian cancer. They gave me 3 months, maybe 6 if I was lucky. The studio was beginning to understand now. The laughter died completely. Cameras stayed on Linda, but the operators seemed uncertain, looking to producers for guidance on whether to cut away. The thing is, Linda continued, I couldn't tell them. I couldn't tell my kids, my ex-husband, my family. We'd already been through so much with the divorce, with me moving away, with all the hurt and anger, and I thought it would be easier for them if I just disappeared. Ellen felt something shift inside her chest. This wasn't entertainment anymore. This was a woman carrying the heaviest burden imaginable, and she was sharing it in front of millions of people. So they think, Ellen asked gently. They think I moved to Arizona to start over. They think I'm angry and stubborn, and that I don't want them in my life anymore. They think I'm choosing to stay away. Linda's voice broke. But the truth is, I'm dying, and I don't want their last memories of me to be watching me get sick. I want them to remember me healthy, even if they remember me as the mother who abandoned them. Behind the scenes, Ellen made a decision that defied every producer's expectation. Ellen looked at her production team in the booth. She could see them frantically trying to figure out how to handle this situation. Cut to commercial? Keep rolling? This wasn't in any playbook. Ellen made the choice for them. She walked down the steps from the stage, something she rarely did during segments, and headed directly into the audience toward Linda. Linda, she said, and her voice had changed completely. Gone was the television host, the entertainer, the woman whose job it was to keep things light and fun. This was Ellen the human being, Ellen the woman who understood pain and loss and impossible choices. She reached Linda's row, and without hesitation, she squeezed past the other audience members and sat down right next to her in the narrow seat. The cameras adjusted to follow, but this intimate conversation was happening whether they captured it or not. How long have you been carrying this alone? Ellen asked, and her voice was so quiet that the audience held its breath to hear. 6 months, Linda whispered. Every day, every treatment, every doctor's appointment, every night when I can't sleep because of the pain or the fear, all alone. Ellen reached over and took Linda's hand. It was a simple gesture, but in that moment it connected two human beings in a way that transcended television, transcended entertainment, transcended everything except the basic human need to not be alone in our darkest moments. You know what I think? Ellen said, and there were tears in her eyes now too. I think your kids would rather have one more day with their mom, even if she's sick, than spend the rest of their lives wondering why she stopped loving them. Linda's composure cracked completely then. The sobs came from somewhere deep and primal, the kind of crying that comes when someone finally speaks a truth you've been too afraid to acknowledge. But what if I'm wrong? Linda cried. What if telling them just makes everything harder? What if they hate me for lying, for letting them think I chose to leave them? Ellen was quiet for a moment, still holding Linda's hand, thinking about her own family, her own relationships, her own understanding of love and loss and regret. Linda, she finally said, can I tell you something about families? They're messy and complicated, and sometimes they hurt each other in ways that seem impossible to fix. But love, real love doesn't disappear because someone gets sick. Real love doesn't stop because someone made a mistake, even a big one. She paused, looking directly into Linda's eyes. Your kids have been living for 6 months thinking their mother chose to abandon them. Can you imagine how much they must be hurting? Can you imagine how much they must miss you? The audience was completely silent now. Even the crew had stopped moving, stopped adjusting equipment, stopped doing anything except witnessing this moment. What if, Ellen continued, what if instead of protecting them from your pain, you let them help you carry it? What if instead of trying to control how they remember you, you trust them to love you exactly as you are right now? Linda looked at Ellen with eyes that seemed to see her clearly for the first time. You think I should call them? I think, Ellen said carefully, that 6 months from now, or 6 years from now, or 60 years from now, they're going to wish they had every possible moment with their mom that they could get. Sick or healthy, scared or brave, perfect or struggling. They're going to wish they had it all. That's when Ellen did something unprecedented. She pulled out her personal phone, not a prop, not something provided by the show, but her actual phone. What's your daughter's number? She asked. Linda stared at the phone like it was both salvation and destruction. Ellen, I can't, not like this, not on television. You're right, Ellen said immediately. This is your choice, your family, your story. But Linda, if not now, when? If not here, where you're surrounded by people who are rooting for you. When? Linda was quiet for so long that the audience began to shift uncomfortably. The silence stretched until it felt unbearable. Finally, she spoke. Sarah. My daughter Sarah. She's 28, she lives in Portland. What's her number? Ellen asked gently. With shaking hands, Linda reached into her purse and pulled out a small piece of paper. It was worn and folded, like she'd been carrying it and looking at it for months. I have all their numbers memorized, she whispered. I dial them sometimes and then hang up before it connects. Ellen took the paper and looked at it, then looked back at Linda. Are you ready? Linda closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and nodded. Ellen dialed the number and put the phone on speaker. The ringing echoed through the studio, amplified by the sound system. Once, twice, 3 times. Hello? The voice was young, female, cautious in the way people are when they don't recognize a number. Sarah? Linda's voice broke on her daughter's name. There was a pause so long it felt eternal. Mom? The word came out as barely a whisper. Mom, is that you? And then the dam broke completely. Linda was sobbing, Sarah was crying on the other end of the phone, and Ellen was wiping tears from her own eyes as she held the phone between them. Sarah, baby, I'm so sorry, Linda cried. I'm so sorry for everything. Mom, where are you? We've been trying to reach you for months. Dad said you didn't want to talk to us, but I didn't believe him. I've been calling your old number, but it was disconnected. Ellen looked at Linda with gentle encouragement, and Linda took the deepest breath of her life. Sarah, I need to tell you something, and it's going to be hard to hear. Whatever it is, Mom, we'll figure it out. Just please, please come home. Baby, I'm sick. I'm really sick. I have cancer, and I thought it would be easier for everyone if I just disappeared. But I was wrong. I've been so wrong. The silence on the other end of the phone lasted forever, and no time at all. How sick? Sarah's voice was different now, stronger, like she was already shifting into caretaker mode. Pretty sick, sweetheart. Where are you right now? Linda looked at Ellen, who nodded encouragingly. I'm on the Ellen DeGeneres show. You're on what? Despite everything, there was a note of incredulous laughter in Sarah's voice. Mom, are you serious right now? I'm serious. Ellen's right here, and she helped me call you. Hi, Sarah, Ellen said softly into the phone. Your mom is one of the bravest women I've ever met. Oh my God, Sarah breathed. This is really happening. Mom, I'm coming to get you. Don't move, don't go anywhere. I'm getting on a plane right now. Sarah, you don't have to. Mom, stop. Just stop. We love you. All of us. Mark and David and me. We love you so much, and we're going to figure this out together, okay? Like a family. Ellen handed the phone completely to Linda then and stood up, giving her some space. She walked back toward the stage, but she didn't go far. She stood at the edge, watching as Linda continued her conversation with her daughter. The audience sat in complete silence, many of them openly crying, all of them understanding that they were witnessing something sacred. After several minutes, Linda ended the call. She looked up at Ellen with eyes that were red from crying but somehow brighter than they'd been when the show started. She's coming, Linda said simply. Ellen walked back over to her. How do you feel? Terrified, Linda answered honestly, but also lighter. Like I've been holding my breath for 6 months and I can finally breathe again. Ellen sat back down next to her. Linda, I need to ask you something, and you can say no. Is it okay if we help you with this? I mean really help. Medical bills, treatments, whatever you need. Linda stared at her. Ellen, you don't even know me. I know enough, Ellen replied. I know you're a mother who loves her children so much she was willing to break her own heart to protect them. I know you're brave enough to tell the truth when it matters. That's enough for me." The segment ended differently than any segment in the history of the Ellen DeGeneres show. There was no big reveal, no dramatic music, no dancing. Ellen simply walked Linda backstage personally, away from the cameras, away from the audience, to give her privacy to make the other calls she needed to make. When Ellen returned to the stage 20 minutes later, she didn't restart the show with her usual energy. Instead, she sat on the edge of the stage and spoke directly to the camera. "Sometimes," she said, "we think love means protecting people from hard truths. We think love means taking on all the pain ourselves so the people we care about don't have to. But what Linda taught us today is that love means trusting people with the truth. Love means believing that the people who care about you would rather face the hard things with you than face life without you." She paused, looking directly into the camera. If you're watching this and you're carrying something alone, if you're protecting someone from a truth that's eating you alive, maybe it's time to make that call. Maybe it's time to trust love to be bigger than fear. The show ended with Ellen's request that people reach out to someone they'd been keeping at a distance. Within hours, the show's social media was flooded with stories of reconciliation, of difficult conversations, of families coming back together. Linda Morrison spent her last 8 months surrounded by her children. Sarah moved to Arizona to be with her. Her sons visited regularly. Even her ex-husband came to help during the final weeks. She died at home, in a bed surrounded by photos and flowers and all the people who loved her most. At her funeral, Sarah read a letter her mother had written thanking Ellen for giving her the courage to choose love over fear. The letter ended with, "I learned that the worst thing that can happen isn't death. The worst thing is living or dying without the people you love, knowing how much they mean to you." Ellen kept Linda's story private until Sarah contacted the show 6 months later, asking if they could share it. She wanted other families to know that it's never too late to come home to each other. The episode became one of the most impactful in the show's history, not because of any surprise or giveaway, but because it reminded everyone watching that sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is tell the truth and trust love to handle the rest.